The Angels had an opportunity to win a seventh straight game and a second consecutive sweep, but instead, a 5-run ninth inning rally somehow wasn't enough. We'll talk about a heartbreaking Angel defeat on today's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, right after every single Angel game here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, and after the fact, wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. And man, oh man, how the heck do you feel about this one? I don't know, because what an awful performance through the first 8 innings, a 7-1 deficit for the Halos. But a 5-run ninth inning puts the Angels with the tying runner up to bat somehow, some way, looking to win a 7th in a row, looking to clinch a second consecutive series sweep. And wow, what a way it would have been to accomplish both of those feats. But instead, some deficits, some holes are just too big to overcome, too large to get out of, and the 6-run deficit going into the into the 9th inning proves too much of a deficit to overcome. Shout out to everybody in here. I know it has been an interesting 24 hours for me. If you were on the postcast yesterday, technical difficulties ended my stream in the middle of the postcast yesterday after that amazing walk-off win. Like I was saying on the stream yesterday, my computer just decided to explode on me, basically. I came back and streamed on my phone. And I just want to say one more time before we jump in today's show, thank you so much to everybody that was in there yesterday with the positive comments, with the love, with the support, sticking with me even though it was an interesting stretch, even though the stream ended and we had to come back. So shout out to all of you that were in here yesterday, and shout out to everybody who's in here today. Some of the usual guys, Jeff, Nick, Fut, Alex, leaving their comments. We'll get to those in a second. But before we do, quick shout out to today's sponsor, Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked-on. I have a different setup with the microphone. I hope I sound okay. Just trying to constantly improve the quality of the postcast. Ironic, given what happened yesterday, but let me know in the comments if I sound too loud, too quiet, anything like that. But with all that being said, let's jump into this one, and we have to start in the 9th inning. How ironic that before that 9th inning, I was getting ready to come in here, and the thumbnail was set. It was going to be called Harsh Return to Reality, because that's what the first 8 innings felt like. A harsh return to reality. A lot of the bad habits that the Angels have constantly done this season, have constantly done in the past few years, they all came out today. But for a second, it looked like all of it was going to be erased in the bottom of the 9th inning because of a 5-run ninth that included 2 home runs. And I guess the only positive, even in the loss, is that the right guys, in terms of the young guys that I talk so much about being the ones you want to see come through, they were the ones to come through. It started in a very scary manner. Shelby Miller comes in and immediately drills Taylor Ward in the head. Scary. Anytime you see a guy get hit high and in, especially on the helmet, didn't even have a chance really to brace himself, just hits him square on the ear hole, and immediately the Angels take him out of the game. Kevin Pillar comes in for Taylor Ward, and we'll get to that in a second because there are questions on whether or not Kevin Pillar, if he was available, maybe could have pinch hit at some point in this inning. But Brandon Drury immediately grounds out to the first baseman. Pillar is able to advance to second. At this point, the Tigers are just thinking, don't make things complicated, just gets outs. You're up 6 runs. Miguel Sano comes up and he lines out. I'm going to talk about him a little later. I still don't understand why suddenly Miguel Sano is being treated like Mike Trout, being treated like one of the best players on the team. Okay, we get it. He was hurt. We get it. He came back. But there's no need to rush him into the lineup and have him hitting every night. I don't understand it. You don't do that with most players. You give him a chance to ease back into things. But especially a guy like Miguel Sano who does not really deserve or warrant this unique treatment. Matt Thaiss comes up, and this is ironic because Matt Thaiss was subbed in for Logan O'Hoppe midway through this game because the Angels were kind of throwing in the towel midway through this game. But luckily, Matt Thaiss walks, and that brings up Zach Neto with runners on first and second and 2 outs. You're thinking, okay, maybe Neto can get an RBI, pad the stat line a little bit before this game inevitably ends. But instead, he gets a not terrible pitch on 2-1, a fastball high, probably out of the strike zone, up and in. But he absolutely turns on it. 104.3 exit velo. He hit it 414 feet. It was a no-doubter. It looked like he was conflicted because he knew he crushed it right away. In any other circumstance, there's probably some pimp job, some bat flip, something like that. But he quickly remembered, hey, we're down 6 runs. This home run still doesn't mean that much. And so he just jogs down the bases. But he cuts the lead to 7-4. I don't know about you guys. I'm still not at this point thinking, oh, the Angels have a chance. I'm thinking, okay, good for Zach Neto, 11th home run of the year. Get that average up, get those RBIs up, get the slugging percentage, the OPS, all of that up. Good for him, but it doesn't mean anything, right? But no, especially when the 2 guys coming up after are Mickey Moniak and Joe Adell, who are still both hitting sub 190. But Moniak, on a weak ground ball, luckily it's up the middle and it gets by Andy Ibanez on a first pitch splitter, down. Don't really know why you're swinging at a first pitch splitter. And it would have been a very fitting way to end the game if we ended it on a Mickey Moniak first pitch ground out on a pitch that made no sense after Zach Neto home run. But somehow it squeezes by, and then Joe Adell comes up against a righty, and I'm certainly thinking this is where it fittingly ends with a strikeout or something. He had a 1-for-3 game coming into this at-bat, I believe, and I was thinking we haven't gotten an Adell strikeout in this game. We're going to get it here, right? But no, first pitch swinging again. But this one makes a lot more sense. Miller absolutely hangs a slider right down the middle. And if there's one thing Joe Adell can do against either side, lefty or righty, it's crush a hanging slider. And boy, did he crush this one. 107.5 exit velo, 429 feet. And somehow, a guy hitting in the 180s has 13 home runs before the month of July. I don't know how. Maybe it's because you get a lot of at-bats despite hitting 180 because you're Joe Adell, but we certainly take it. And at this point, of course, Angel Stadium is buzzing. I am suddenly not working on getting the thumbnails and stuff set up again. I am zooming into the game again, and we certainly had an opportunity. Tyler Holton comes in to replace Shelby Miller. It's a lefty on lefty. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think there's a chance that if Pilar is available on the bench and did not have to pinch run for Taylor Ward earlier in the inning after Ward got hit in the head, I think you at least consider having Pilar come in against a lefty, right? The Tigers were always going to bring in a lefty with Shanuel and then Guillerme up 1 and 2. And I really think you consider bringing Kevin Pilar if he's available. Obviously, he's not available. Instead, your leadoff hitter, Nolan Shanuel, does what a leadoff hitter does. He has a great at-bat, gets ahead 2-0, then he gets a sinker down and away, and I think that's the pitch if there's one you consider swinging at. It's 2-0, a sinker, not a terrible pitch though, and so he takes it, strike 1, takes a ball, it's 3-1, and you're thinking, okay, walk, Guillerme is set to come up, not feeling great about that. He came up for Rengifo, and you're thinking maybe that's why they're almost pitching around Shanuel, because Rengifo cannot come up to bat, and it's Guillerme instead, but he throws back-to-back strikes, gets a sinker down and away again, and then he throws a sinker down and away, swing and a miss, strike 3, ball game over. So obviously, you're not going to complain about scoring 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning, but it's just a real bummer that somehow, I don't know there's many games where a team scores 5 runs in the 9th inning and does not come out victorious. But the last thing I'll say is, I was going to say it was a harsh return to reality, and in a way, it still is not a harsh return, but still a return to reality. Because what have we seen from the Angels when they lose games? Someone said in the comments, yeah, Fudd Alex says right here, they always score in the 1st and the 9th. Exactly. And this was it again. Another scenario where, like I always say, when other teams go against a pitcher and they're struggling against the starter, they maybe get 1 or 2 runs, 3 runs. When the Angels go against a starter that they're struggling against, they roll an egg. And we didn't see that in the winning streak, but it comes back today. They roll an egg and don't do anything, essentially nothing, until the 9th inning. And then we saw it a couple times. Those meaningless 9th innings those comebacks where the game is already over and you come back and you make it really interesting. This is not the first time on the postcast that there was a 4 or 5, or I think it might have been 6-run ninth inning one time where they almost came all the way back and fell just short. So ironic that even though 7-1 would have been a harsh return to reality, still a return to some of the regular Angels issues. After our first break here on the Locked On Angels postcast, I'm going to talk about not a return to reality, a shocking return to bad form for Tyler Anderson, because we know how great he has been. The ERA was under 3. It was around 2.38, I think, in the last 3 starts. But he was not great at all today, and that's what contributed to that big 7-1 deficit going into the 9th inning. So when I come back, I'll talk to you about what went wrong for Tyler Anderson in this one, what it might mean for his trade value and all that. And of course, we'll talk about the entire series, the entire run that is now over, and how we should feel about all of it, how we should have felt about all of it if they didn't have this 9th inning, and if this 9th inning changes, how we should feel about that 6-game win streak and it being snapped today. We'll talk about all that after our first break here on the Locked On Angels postcast. Now, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. I say it so many times, I'll say it again. Not only is PrizePicks America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members, it's my favorite thing to do to improve my sports fandom experience. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. And if you don't know what that means, a lot of other apps, you're competing against other people. You know, it's not you simply picking more or less like you do with the stat projections on PrizePicks. It's you building lineups and hoping that your lineup does better than someone else. No, none of that stuff with PrizePicks. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And right now, you can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. That's right, you can turn $10 into $1,000. And if you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week. They have 2 things: from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays to helping your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. PrizePicks is always looking out for their users like me and like hopefully all of you. So I highly recommend you go download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And today's show is also brought to you once again by Tax Network USA. Now, I say it all the time here on Locked On, whether it's me on the postcast, the daily podcast guys over on Locked On Angels, or any other Locked On show, we all pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. But you know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt, and I'm going to be next because, like I said, recently graduated from college. I'm a big adult now, 22, working multiple jobs. I got to figure out how to manage my taxes, and I'm going to use Tax Network USA. Not only on tax day, but right now, as soon as possible. So whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. And be sure to mention Locked On at checkout and you'll receive a $250 discount off their services. Love that. Shout out to Tax Network USA. We are back here live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels postcast, and the Angels are not victorious. For the first time in 7 games, a 6-game winning streak is snapped, and snapped in a heartbreaking manner. 5 runs in the 9th inning, not enough to clinch what would have clinched a 2nd consecutive sweep, a 7th straight win, but 5 runs in the 9th, not enough. And why is it not enough? Because Tyler Anderson had one of his worst performances of the entire season. We know how great he's been. Came into this one with a sub-3 ERA. I think in his last three outings, the ERA was something like 2.38. That trade value was looking beautiful. He was being the leader of a rotation that has been struggling to keep healthy arms. Patrick Sandoval gone. Detmers and Silseth in AAA. Soriano out for a little bit. Davis Daniel had a great start, but Zach Plesac, he was not good. He got sent down after his struggles all sorts of movement in the rotation. Griffin Canning hasn't even been great. He was not great yesterday and got bailed out by the bullpen and by great Angel hitting. But the one constant, the one consistent great starter for the Angels all season, specifically as of late, was Tyler Anderson. But in this one, not too good. Just 4 2/3 inning pitch, gives up 7 hits, 6 runs, all earned, gives up a home run and a walk, and had just 2 strikeouts. And that ERA goes all the way over 3. That hurts because I know I'm worried about his trade value, and I know teams looking at him, certainly they're not just going to look at his ERA. They're certainly not going to look at his win-loss record, because coming into this one, he was 7-7 despite that amazing ERA. But I really hope that having a 3 in his ERA, not a 2, doesn't affect the trade value too much. But this is not a good performance for him, because it's a Tigers lineup that has been really bad as of late. They've fallen a couple times. Obviously, they lost 3 in a row against us, but coming into this one, but just really not a good job by Tyler Anderson. And unlike Griffin Canning, who has a bad first inning every game, Tyler Anderson normally doesn't have a bad first inning, but he did today. He gave up a run in the first inning right away. Andy Ibanez leads off the game with a triple, and then Canna just does what he's supposed to, gets the sac fly, and just like that, it's 1-0. And unlike other games where the lineup responds, other games being in the recent streak, where the lineup responds, shows resilience. That's been the key word, in my opinion, of this whole streak. Today, the Angels return to their normal selves. They fall behind 1-0 early, and they lay an egg hitting and don't do anything. And when Tyler Anderson notices his team laying an egg offensively, there's more pressure on him, and surely enough, he continued to struggle. He had a good second and third, but then in the fourth, that's when things blew up. Gave up 3 runs in the 4th inning and 3 runs in the 5th inning. In the 4th, it was courtesy of a couple hits, a single from Carson Kelly with 1 out, then a double from Perez. Kelly gets to third at second and third with 1 out. And then we have a little weird thing here where Urshela, grounds out to the third baseman, Miguel Sano. He throws it to the catcher, Logan O'Hoppe, but Logan O'Hoppe not on home plate. Not on home plate. The throw wasn't great. O'Hoppe couldn't keep his foot on the bag, and so the run, Carson Kelly from third, is able to score. O'Hoppe luckily throws the ball to first and gets the out on Urshela. Urshela, it'll just be ruled a ground out, but unable to make the tag, or O'Hoppe get the ball at home, make the tag, and save the run. So it goes to 2-0. He's able to get the out, and I'm thinking, thank goodness he got the out. Okay, there's 2 outs now. Now, even though you gave up the run, you got the out at first. Anderson can get out of the inning, keep the score at 2-0, and hopefully we can have another rally in the middle of the game like we've had in multiple games in this streak. But instead, Anderson is not able to lock in at all. The very next pitch, a cutter right down the middle, and Malloy crushes it. Justin Henry Malloy hits it 102.3 exit velo, 404 feet, and it doesn't get out. This is the craziest play of the game, in my opinion. Mickey Moniak, could he have played it better? I think so. He leaps up. He's not able to make the play. The ball hits off the wall. The ball is rolling all over the place in the outfield. And Malloy has good speed, and he's able to have not a little league inside the park homer. There wasn't an error or anything, but just one of those rare inside the park homers where it caroms off the wall. No one's waiting for it right away, and he's able to run all around the bases for a 2-run inside the park home run. And just like that, it's 4-0. Tyler Anderson does get out of it on the next at bat, but at this point, it's already 4-0. A huge deficit's already being built. And the shocking thing for me is I think Tyler Anderson may have lost his cool a little bit. And we normally don't see that with him, because he leads off the 5th with a leadoff walk to Ibanez, who already had a triple, who already had his number in this one. He walks Ibanez. He gets 2 pop-outs, Canna and Riley Green, but then Jake Rogers singles on a liner, and now that is all that Tyler Anderson could see. I think a debate can be made about if it was the right time to take him out. I think it probably was. And I know, ironically, it did not work at all because you give up a home run on the next at-bat with the reliever. But I think the rule, when you see a guy struggling and he has a leadoff walk, you're already thinking maybe he lost his cool. He gets 2 pop-outs, great. But he gives up another single. And the second there's a runner in scoring position, when you've already had the outing that Anderson has had, I think it's time to get him out. The problem is who comes in for the Angels. Because it's the 5th, you can't talk about Strickland and Garcia and Matt Moore. You have to bring in one of those middling guys, and that has been an issue for the Angels all season, is that first guy after the starter in a rough outing. And in this time, Wash elects to go with Andrew Wantz. And Andrew Wantz was just brought up. Zach Plesac was just sent down after his poor start. Andrew comes up, and boy, what a rude awakening for him. The very next at-bat, gives up a home run, falls behind 2-1, throws a 94-mile-an-hour sinker right down the middle, and Carson Kelly crushes it. How many times am I going to say crush today? All sorts of home runs in this one, inside the park, deep flies. This was before the ninth inning where the Angels started unloading, but Kelly hits one 407 feet. Another mammoth shot in the hot LA day game weather. Absolutely crushes it, and it's 7-0, and the game feels over at this point. It certainly felt over at this point. Now, obviously, we know what happened. The Angels laid an egg for multiple innings. They had a chance in the sixth. They had a back-to-back hit, Samuel single, double from Rengifo, second and third with one out. But guess what? Taylor Ward seems to hate second and third sometimes. Strikes out, and then Drury strikes out, and the Angels only get one run in that inning off a wild pitch instead of maybe getting 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that with second and third and just one out. But the key thing here, Tyler Anderson was not great, and Andrew Wentz, the guy coming in to try to bail him out, does the very opposite. If it's 4-0, I think the Angels have a shot at coming back, certainly given what they showed in the ninth. But 7-0, too much of a deficit, and then the fact that in the bottom of the sixth inning, when they have a great opportunity, they only score one run. It felt over at that point. But it just shows every inning matters. Every inning matters, because imagine if they score 2 in that sixth instead of 1. They tie the game in the ninth with what they did. But with all that being said, we're going to take one more break here, and then I'm going to talk about all your comments. I'm going to recap the whole stretch that we've had for the Angels and how we should feel about it. Does it change anything going forward? We'll talk about that after my last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, finally, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Now, look, I love sports. I love them so, so much, and I never want them to stop. But multiple sports have stopped. The NBA Finals, of course, playoffs over. The NHL, not even a big hockey guy, but I was watching Game 7 of the Finals, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Now that's over. The playoffs have wound down. We got fewer games now, really just baseball. Luckily, I'm a soccer guy, so I've loved watching the Euros. Unbelievable game today, by the way, with England getting lucky against Slovenia, Slovakia, I don't even know, coming back. But look, even with that, sports aren't sportsing like I want them to, but luckily FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Now, what does that mean? Boosts. Maybe, a certain bet would get you bet $10, you win 50, but they'll boost it and you'll win $80. That's a boost. What about a bonus? Oh, you deposit $50, they'll give you $50 more. Something like that. I don't have the exact terms, but that's what they mean by boost and bonus. So, head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball, so bet on the MLB, bet on the soccer games I'm talking about, bet on anything with FanDuel. Shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this podcast. We are back here live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I am Gavin Carlson. I fail to say that about every single postcast. I fail to introduce myself. I'm a credible guy. Spent 4 years as a credentialed journalist in the Los Angeles area. I'm not just some guy who hops on and talks about sports. I've been in the trenches. I've been at Pauley Pavilion or the Rose Bowl at midnight, at 1 a.m., after interviewing Chip Kelly, Deshaun Foster, after interviewing Mick Cronin, Jaime Jaquez, writing articles, hosting podcasts, all of that. I've earned my stripes, all right? I'm a credible guy, and of course, now I'm a part of the Locked On Network. Shout out to everybody in here who's been supporting me since I've been a part of the Locked On Network and been a podcast host. Jeff said, too bad we didn't score these runs earlier. At least we won the series. Happy they battled back. We'll get to that, Jeff, because I certainly want to talk about the whole series and the vibe around the team. Nick King said, Mickey cost us the game. I assume you're talking about him in the field. He said Neto had 2 half swings back-to-back that were just terrible. No idea what happened there. Yeah, that check swing, that's when you kind of feel like the Angels just kind of laid an egg and were kind of felt like this one was over. Fudd Alex said they always score in the first and ninth. We talked about that. He also said Moniak did not want to go for the ball after it bounced. Yeah, he certainly could have played it better, I think, while it was in the air and after it bounced. Jeff just was confirming that I sounded good. Fudd Alex agrees with me. He said, why is Sano still playing? I don't get it. I don't get it. I understand that he provides a veteran, bat with power. There's not a lot of power in the lineup, but we've seen that power has not been an issue. We saw it again today, back-to-back home runs in the ninth. Feels like every single game, either Neto or Ohapi or Rengifo or Ward, one of those 4 guys seems to hit a home run just about every game. So I don't think you need to just insert a guy like Miguel Sano who's only going to give you a home run or nothing else, especially when he's coming off an injury and isn't in his groove. I don't understand it at all. Then there's guys like Kevin Pillar begging for an opportunity to be in the lineup, doing things like having walk-off sac flies yesterday, and who have been a part of the team all month, past 2 months. Sano has been out. He comes back in, and suddenly he's the everyday third baseman, the everyday cleanup or 5-hitter. It does not make sense to me. So I agree with you there. Fud Alex adds 39 and 47 after the A series. That's your goal still. It's still a possibility, of course, because if you get the sweep, you get to 39 and 47. There for a second there, the Angels were 10 games under 500. They could have made it 9, but they obviously did not do that here. Fud Alex adding, what if he wants to stay, talking about Tyler Anderson? I don't think it's up to him. I think it's up to the market, what we can get for him, and it's up to the front office, and if they're willing to admit they need to sell. So I get it. Maybe Tyler Anderson wants to stay. I don't know, but it's not up to that. Fud Alex is spamming the comments here. I appreciate it, though, and he says, do you think we might have a close chance to reach wild card before All-Stars? I don't know what you mean by that one. I don't know if you mean like getting into the wild card slot before the All-Star break. I assume that's what you mean. I don't know, because like you said, even if you go to 39 and 47, I don't know what the MLB standings are. I'll quickly look them up for you. I don't know, to be honest, what you need to be in the wild card spot as of now. I'm quickly pulling it up for you here because it is a valid question to be asked. The AL wild card, not even close. The Royals are 47 and 39 as the worst wild card team, and there's all sorts of teams between us and them. The Red Sox, Rays, Astros, Blue Jays, Tigers, Rangers, all above us. We're 9.5 games back of the wild card spot. So ironically, you might have a better chance at catching up to the Seattle Mariners than you do of catching up in the wild card race. I don't think there's any need to talk about that right now because we are so far away from that, and because we know that is not the goal of this year and not likely this year. And that brings me to my last point, as we have a couple more minutes here on the postcast. What are the vibes? What should we feel about this stretch? I think it's still nothing but positivity, of course. Does this 9th inning contribute to that? I'll be honest, I think it does, because I was ready to come in here with it 7-1 and say, boy, I don't expect you to win 7 games in a row, but what a way to end the streak, just showing no fight. The second you fall behind 1-0, the second you fall behind 4-0, showing absolutely no fight. I was going to be critical of that and say, you're not going to win every game, certainly, and it's been a great stretch. But I was going to be disappointed that there was no fight. But they show the fight. And ironically, you wait till the 9th inning to show it, but you show the fight. And so I think that just adds to a very positive run, obviously. If you told me the Angels win 6 of 7 against the A's and Tigers, I probably don't believe you. If I had to put my life on the line coming into it, I would have said probably sweep the A's and split the Tigers. Some combination of that, of winning 5 in the stretch, 5 of 7. Maybe it's sweeping the A's and winning, splitting the Tigers. Maybe it's going 2-1 and then 3-1 against the A's and Tigers, respectively. I think 5 games would have been a goal. Have a winning, stretch against these poor teams. So 6 out of 7 is certainly amazing. You got the Cubs coming up next. Yeah, I think you could win 2 out of 3 there, and then you're talking about 8 of your last 10. That is a great, great stretch, and you're sniffing 500 ball, which is what Jeff says here is what he wants. So certainly no need to be negative and critical after one loss, especially with the fight they showed in the 9th inning. I would have been more critical if they did not show the fight and they rolled over and they got blown out. But ironically, Ron Washington takes out Rengifo, takes out Ohapi, and the team still is able to perform and come all the way back and almost come all the way back. So shout out to the team. They certainly deserve credit for the resilience today, even in a loss, and certainly for the resilience throughout this whole stretch. Because let's not forget, it's not like the Angels were up 10-1 in every game. They were behind in games. Games looked out. Games were tied in the bottom of the 8th 2 games ago, and Ohapi comes through with a 3-run homer. The Angels were down 1 in the bottom of the 8th, down 3 in the bottom of the 7th before all sorts of magic with Taylor Ward and Ohapi once again. So there was resilience all series. That's something I want to see. The goal, like Ron Washington keeps saying, is for these guys to learn how to win. And even in a loss like this, there's signs that they are learning how to come together in tough moments and stay resilient and stay close every single game. If the Angels lost every game by 1 run, it would hurt, but it would certainly be a lot more encouraging than 7-1 losses. So they deserve credit for that. A great stretch. If I had to predict, I think we win 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, and I don't think I would say that even before this stretch or even before the Tiger series. Even after the A's sweep, I don't think you take 2 out of 3. But I have the confidence now that you can take 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. And I keep forgetting that the A's are before the Cubs. I don't know why I keep talking about the Cubs first. win 2 out of 3 against the A's, win 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. That would be a really strong, positive stretch, and I think it can happen. So, with all that being said, shout out to everybody in here. Jeff, Futt, Alex, Nick King, the usual. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you all once again for sticking with me yesterday, despite the technical difficulties, despite having to start the stream over. And with all that being said, the Angels fall just short of an unbelievable ninth inning comeback, of a 7th straight win, of a 2nd consecutive series sweep, but still a very positive 6 out of 7 stretch. Hopefully they can keep it going against the A's and then the Cubs. So with all that being said, I'm Gavin Carlson. This was the Locked On Angels Postcast. I will be back for that A's series. They get the day off tomorrow to travel to Oakland, and then we have the A's and Cubs back to back. Hopefully we can at least win both series in those stretch. But shout out to everybody in here. I'm Gavin Carlson signing off, and I will be back after the day off tomorrow to keep the postcast going. Shout out to everybody in here. Love you all, and I'm signing out.